And hello, everyone, and welcome to this information webinar for Open Dialogo Artist Residency. My name is Sho, and I am the executive producer for Stopgap Dance Company. And my pronouns are he, him. And for those of you who would benefit from a visual description, I am an East Asian man in my 40s with black hair and beard with a round pair of glasses. And I'm wearing a dark shirt today, sitting in front of a white neutral background. Now, before I start my presentation, I'm going to run through some housekeeping points. As this is a webinar, Zoom functions slightly differently. Everyone joining us as our audience won't be able to use their camera or microphone. Only the invited panelists are able to do that. And we are recording this session, but it will only feature me and the speakers. And we will make this webinar available to view afterwards on Stopgap Dance Company's YouTube channel for you to watch back, or for those who are not able to make it today too. Today we have Claudia, our translator, this evening. She will be simultaneously translating throughout the session, and some of our speakers will speak in Italian. So to hear the English translation, please select the interpretation icon, which is at the bottom of your Zoom screen. It looks like a little globe symbol, and then you can click Listen In and select English. If you wish to hear the Italian translation, please select the interpretation icon and under Listen In, select Italian. Our interpreter will manually control which language channel they are speaking on, so you won't need to switch things on and off yourself. Just sit back and listen in. And if you don't want to hear both the original audio and the language channel you have tuned into, you can untick the original audio option, and then you'll only hear the chosen language. And today we also have British and Italian Sign Language interpretation. To select either of these sign languages, please click on the interpretation icon again, and the corresponding interpreter will appear. The interpreter should remain on your screen, but to pin your interpreter, click on the 3 dots that appear as you hover over the video and click Pin. We also have live captions in both Italian and English. For the Italian captions, please select the CC button along the bottom of your Zoom screen and choose Show Closed Captions. And the English captions are available via the link that Monique posts in the chat now. And if you click on the link, it would open up a separate window in Stream Text. And if you're unable to access the link in the chat, we have included that link in the email that we sent you to welcome you to this webinar, but also it's on the Eventbrite page too. But just to remind you of the link now, to activate the English captions, please open your internet browser and type in bit.ly/od-captions, and that should do it for you. So as this is a webinar, we have a Q&A function where you can send questions throughout the session. Please select the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and you'll be able to post questions to the panel. But if you would like to ask a question using sign language, or you'd prefer to just speak your question out loud, please contact Monique, and she will be able to sign you so that you can ask a question through video or microphone. And her email address is displayed on the slides here today. And if you have any other difficulties setting up the interpretation or translation tools, please send Monique a message via the Q&A function or email her at monique@stopgapdance.com, as you can see on the slide there. So in a moment, I'm going to start my presentation about the Artist Residency. I do have the PowerPoint presentation running throughout my bit of the webinar. But it has no images or videos, so I won't be describing any of those things. And I will be reading everything that appears on the slide as well. My presentation will be about 15 to 20 minutes long. And once I've finished, I will be inviting Alison from the British Council and Sabrina from the Ministry of Culture in Italy to join me for the Q&A too. Okay, so I'd like to just start by giving you a little bit of a context about Open Dialogo as a whole project. So the idea behind Open Dialogo is to promote a bilateral cultural exchange through sharing of knowledge between disabled and non-disabled artists and influencers working in England and Italy. It's project managed by Stopgap Dance Company, but it's commissioned and designed, in essence, by Arts Council England, the Italian Ministry of Culture, the Performing Arts Department, the Italian Cultural Institute of London, and the British Council. And the representative from these organizations also form a steering board, which Stopgap Dance Company reports to. And Open Dialogo is a two-part program. We have the webinars that introduces dance and disability in the English and Italian scenes. And these are really designed to curate a range of speakers to deepen understanding of accessibility issues while exploring how dance as a sector can become more inclusive of disabled people as artists, leaders, and audiences. And some of you may already have accessed some of these webinars. We had 2 already in the last 2 weeks, and there are 2 more coming up in a couple of weeks' time. And if you've missed the first 2, you will be able to go into a website and request a link to watch back. But I encourage you to sign up to the next 2. We have some really interesting panelists talking about how dance can be made accessible to disabled audiences, and then also about disabled leadership too. Again, if you'd like more information, that's all on our website. The reason that I'm encouraging you to sign up to the webinars, either to watch it in real time or retrospectively, is because the project steering board has stipulated that individuals and organizations taking part in the residencies will need to have participated in the webinar series. The rationale behind it is because the themes for the residencies should be informed by or be reflective of the points of conversation in the webinar. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about the residency program itself, and here are the kind of projects that we want to support. So the residency program will enable dance artists, companies, and venues in England and Italy to explore disability, dance, and inclusive creativity. And we're quite open-ended with what a residency could look like. So a residency could give opportunities to disabled dance artists wanting to develop new or existing work. This can be solo work made on themselves or any group work consisting of disabled and or non-disabled people. We could also entertain ideas from non-disabled dance artists wanting to develop new or existing work that involve disabled dancers. Or it could be disabled or non-disabled dance artists just wanting to spend time observing or participating in activities of other disabled or inclusive groups to deepen their knowledge and their current ways of thinking. But just to remind you that this is a cultural exchange program, so we expect dance artists or companies based in England to travel to a host organization in Italy to conduct the activity, and Italian-based artists and companies going over to England to conduct their activities. That's where the exchange comes in. Okay, now I'm going on to talk about how to organize your proposal. So an application can come from a venue, a company, or an individual artist, but the proposal must have all participants identified with a commitment of collaboration and dates in place by the time of the application. So what I mean here is that by the time you make an application in June, we'd like you to have already done the matchmaking process. So if you're an artist in UK, we'd like you to have identified a host organization. whether that be a venue or a dance company that has a studio space, and also the dates. So as well as showing an interest in wanting to do a project, we'd also like to know who you're working with in the opposite country. We're aware that not everyone knows everybody in our respective countries. So if you do need support with matchmaking, please contact Stopgap Dance Company. So if you're an English artist wanting to find collaborators or partners in Italy, come to me. And then Ministry of Culture in Italy have kindly also agreed to support us in finding a partner for you. And if you're an Italian artist wanting to find English venues or host organizations, again, we can do that. And Arts Council England, of course, will also help. Also, if you're a venue or a potential host organization in England or Italy wanting to find disabled or inclusive dance organizations or artists, again, we can be your help. And our contact details on the website too. Okay, there is one important information, and it's a kind of a criteria, I suppose. And I'll go through this in a lens of the English artist first. So important information for English artists or companies going to Italy. So the Ministry of Culture in Italy has stipulated that an Italian organization that hosts an artist's residency for England-based artists must be a signatory of the 2022-24 residency program agreement. It's quite a technical system and setup, but to make it a little bit more transparent for you, the list of eligible organizations it has been made available for you to download from Stopgap's website. So you can click on there and then go on it to take a look. The links to their respective organizations are all on the said document. And just to remind you, the partnership with your Italian colleagues must already be in place by the time you or the Italian host applies on 19th of June. And I reiterate that if you need support with matchmaking with a partner in Italy, you can contact us and we will put your proposal and interest forward to those groups of organizations. And similarly, for Italian organizations wanting to host English artists, again, you must be a signatory of the residency system. The reference number is REP 224/CSR. So if you're intending to bring English-based artists or companies to do an exchange with you, then you do have to be on a registered organization of the said system. And again, if you require assistance with finding an interesting disabled or inclusive dance practitioners in England, Stopgap Dance Company can help you do that. And to reiterate again, the partnership between English and Italian colleagues must be in place by the time you make an application on the 19th of June. So a little bit on how to apply. So the application form is already available for you to download from Stopgap's website. If your partnership cohort decides that an English artist organization will submit the proposal, you can use the application form in English. But if your partnership cohort decides that an Italian artist or organization makes an application, then please use the appropriate form as created by the Italian Ministry of Culture. Just to note that there are two application forms in Italian. There's one for artists and one for organizations who like to host. And as well as having an application form, which is perhaps more commonplace, we are also open to receiving a video presentation or an audio file if writing is problematic for you. But we encourage you to answer the questions in the application form so that we can make a fair assessment of your proposal. And whatever application format you choose, we would like you to email the application to us. And the email address is here on the slide. It's admin@stopgapdance.com. And again, all of those details are on the Open Dialogo Artist Residency website, on Stopgap's website. And then what happens when we receive the application is that there will be a selection of English and Italian speakers who will form a selection panel, and they will be reviewing your application. So we would like you to make use of Google Translate, which I have done quite a lot in managing this project, and it works okay. But it just helps us to have both languages represented for the panelists whose preference of language may be English or Italian. Not all of us, in fact, not very many of us are bilingual. So if you could help us out by using Google Translate, that would make our lives a lot easier. Thank you. And when you're writing your application, there are some assessment criteria that I'd like you to pull your attention to. And again, all of this is available on the website, but I'd just like to go through them with you now. So they are effectively 4 questions that we're looking at. The first one, the most important, is a track record or commitment of the artist or company making inclusive or disabled-led work, and that's up to 40 points. And then a track record of a commitment of the host organization in supporting inclusive or disabled-led work, that's up to 30 points. And then we want to know a little bit about your legacy after your residency too. Is there an idea of where the project might go next after the residency, or what impact this project, this residency, will have in promoting dance and disability? And that has up to 20 points. And then just to wrap it up, there's also financial viability to be considered too, and that's 10 points. And there is a template for budget available for you to use too, should that be useful to you. And in the application form, you will have set questions, and the questions that are set to you are very much tied in to help us assess these points. So when you're answering the questions, it will be useful for you, I think, and for us, if you could refer back to these assessment criteria in writing your answers. So as you can see, that the residency will be awarded a proposal with the highest total points, maximum of 100 points. But importantly, and this is kind of an obvious point, the project must be disabled-led or have at least 50-50 representation of disabled people. It is about an inclusive dance project, so this is, of course, a very important point. But I also like to draw your attention to the fact that the priority of the artist residency is really to promote disabled dance artists traveling to the opposite country. So if we have lots of great applications with the same scores, and if we have to kind of cast a vote in what who we choose to give the residency to, whether that project is disabled-led will have more of a weight. So the final slide is just to give you some basic information. So we have a budget of up to £10,500, which is about 12,000 euros, and that's available per residency. And the project board is looking to support 4 residencies, so 2 in each country, 2 in Italy, 2 in England. Deadline for applications is 12 p.m. UK time on the 19th of June 2023. And then the applications that we receive will go to a selection panel that will consist of an impartial jury from Arts Council England, British Council, and an independent disabled artist. And then we are aiming to be able to let successful candidates know of our decisions by the 1st of July 2023. And I forgot to include, apologies, that the residency should take place in September and October of this year. The reason being that we want to do a thorough evaluation by November so that we can think about whether this project has scope to run again next year or the year after. So just to reiterate, the residencies should be taking place in September, October of this year. So that's everything that I wanted to say formally to you. So I'd like to move over to the Q&A. So I'd like to invite Alison from British Council and Sabrina to switch on their cameras and microphones, unlike me. And I will stop sharing the screen. And I'd like to invite the listeners to post some questions as well, if you have any. And while we wait for those questions to come through, I wondered, Sabrina, whether I could ask you to just talk a little bit about the history of the Ministry of Culture supporting disabled dance artists. You know, how did this project come about?
First and foremost, good afternoon. My name is Sabrina Canzoniere, and I work at the Italian Ministry for Culture, and I belong to the Department of Performing Arts. I'm a woman. I am 50 years old, black hair and black eyes. I'm wearing a white and light blue blouse. Nothing special apart from that. So Sho has been very thorough in explaining our project, which is a pilot project. It is a first time ever for us. The Department of Performing Arts has been favoring exchange and communication with international organizations and artists for live performances. And in the past years, especially, we focused on promoting raising of awareness of everything which is connected to the arts and arts profession and disability. There is actually one law governing the performing arts in Italy, which governs this aspect. And this law entails that it is possible to accomplish in theater, music, dance, and circus, and multidisciplinarity, a number of inclusion and social inclusion projects, which means that over the years, it has been recognized that it is very important to recognize access to the sector to disabled people. And I'm not only speaking about users, taking away barriers, physical barriers, but also removing cultural barriers so that disabled people can really contribute to the culture of our time. I mean that there is raising awareness activities to go in this direction, and there is growing awareness about the need for disabled people to gain access to the arts, to the performing arts, also the profession. And this is a general cultural value for our communities, which means that for the first time ever in Italy, projects were financed with the participation of disabled artists. The goal being that of widespreading initiatives, of spreading initiatives within the sector. And the goal of the ministry, the goal of our Department for Performing Arts is that of further strengthening these activities and raising awareness. The 2022 project, which is called Arte e Disabilità, Arts and Disability, is the product of the Europe Beyond Access program in Italy and abroad. So reflections have been made within the context of the Oriente Occidente Festival, and then a meeting was organized in Milan, Presenti Visibili, Visible Present Time, and also Time to Act was an important source of these reflections. So this is the background, plus an agreement was signed by AGIS, which is the Italian organization governing performing arts, and Questo governs the aspect of contemporary dance. They signed a protocol, an agreement, which aims at increasing activities in the sector, which means that for our ministry, it was very important to give a clear sign of the support in a practical way with a budget of 25,000 euros per project led by disabled people, artists, of course. And the focus was that of having a network of professional entities working in the sector of performing arts. Disability is considered and reflected upon at all levels. So right to access covers all phases, from design to the organization, to promotion, to communication. All steps are included. 10 projects participated, and 5 winners had projects on dance, which is very important and which makes it clear how important it is, dance in Italy, and how important is the role for dance in the sector of accessibility. Now we continue with Open Dialogo, which, as Sho explained very thoroughly, started from a partnership with the British Council, the Arts Council of England, and the Istituto Italiano di Cultura. If I may, I would like to clarify a number of things on residencies, if it's okay. In Italy, we have a system of residencies which was set up based on an agreement between the state and the Italian regions. Regions are autonomous administrations in Italy with a statute of their own, and they even pass laws in a number of sectors. So what happens is that an agreement is made. It is called intesa. It is an agreement, and it is the regions that manage the residencies. Residencies are creative spaces which are dedicated to artistic creations. And we speak about residencies, and because this is also the term which is used in the law. But as a matter of fact, there are 2 types of residencies. We have centers, which are more structured organizations, so to say, and then artists locally, and they also are considered residencies. The ultimate goal being always that of fostering creativity. It is then regions deciding who are the artists and who are the centers based on the competencies. Residencies can cover all performing arts sectors. In this case, we give priority to dance. You can also have multidisciplinarity, of course, but we wanted the dance element to be very present. It is a 3-year agreement, and recognized residencies in Italy adhere to that agreement. And those are the residencies that you should make reference to when considering the project. Means, I apologize, the light is switched off and on. Anyway, residencies mean for us that English artists and Italian artists too should make reference to those residencies. Sho has been extremely precise in listing all the residencies where dance is the prevailing element. There is a website which is called residenzeartistiche.it, and there you find all information about the residencies. And of course, if you have further questions, please address Sho, and Sho, of course, will contact us as well. So if you need further information about this, of course, we are here, ready and open and willing to answer all your questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Sabrina. It's Sho speaking here. Great. So we have a couple of questions, but before I dive in, Alison, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to address anything or chip in with any particular angles or thoughts from the British Council's perspective. Sorry, Alison, I think you have a problem with the sound.
Hello, can you hear me now? Sho, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can hear you now.
Okay,
Sorry.
I think I had to go on to English. I had my no translation, so hi there. So I was saying hello to everybody. I'm Alison Driver, the arts manager for the British Council, based in Rome, but with a national remit. I'm a white woman in my 50s and I've got short brown hair. I'm wearing heavy black framed glasses and an electric blue top, and my background is white. I would just add at this point, before we go into questions, because I think Sabrina has explained quite a bit the development from working on the ministerial side, which has been a real achievement. She mentioned the project Europe Beyond Access, which is that Creative Europe project, which did have a, in Italian, the British Council led it, but it had an Italian partner, Oriente Occidente, who really did a fantastic job in alerting the whole sector and creating a network of organizations that became interested. We felt that the time was right to build on the achievements that was that Anna Consolati in particular, as the lead person in Italy, developed. We felt it was time for us to try and establish a legacy of this project, because Europe Beyond Access will finish this year. It also builds on our work that we have been doing through the leadership of Ben Evans, who's our head of arts and disability in the EU. And I'll share a couple of links because Sabrina also managed our questionnaire called Time to Act, which was a questionnaire sent to, I think, over 42 countries, looking at how much they knew about disability performances. And the results were something that gave us a boost to say we need to invest in this project. I think that's it from me for the moment, unless there are any more specific questions. Thanks, Sho.
Great, thank you. So we have two questions, so we'll crack on, and I'll perhaps make a start in answering some, and then perhaps Sabrina and Alison, if you want to chip in, please do. So the first question is from Jackie. COVID is still prevalent and clinically vulnerable disabled people have been excluded from public life in Britain. Is there any thought of safety provision around this? Around this is the project. I think it means just provision around this as the project. Yes, so we do prefer people to be in face-to-face context or in-person context if possible, but in one of the criteria that's listed on the application form, we do also welcome hybrid or other kind of activity that still allows you to exchange in some shape. So if in-person project in its entirety is problematic for you, then if you are able to come up with an idea that still allows Italian and English artists or host organizations to have an exchange, then that would be welcome. And I suppose we should also just clarify what we mean by host organization, which I think Sabrina alluded to. You know, it can be a venue, of course, like a dance house or a theater, but it could also be an arts organization based in Italy who has a building or an access to a building, who are also in the part of the residency system. So it's quite varied. So I encourage you, if you're I'm assuming, Jackie, you're at England based, encourage you to go and download that list and then do a little bit of research into the kind of organizations that are on there. They're quite varied. And then in regards to if you do decide to travel or to invite people into your respective countries or contexts, of course, we will be very careful and respectful of the individual's preferences and COVID safety or any other kind of health and safety. So yes, so, you know, even though most of the countries are not mandated to do testing or wearing masks, etc., if you feel that is something you would like your partners or collaborators to do the same, of course, we will advocate on your behalf. We as Stopgap are quite used to doing that for different individuals who have different preferences in regards to COVID. So I feel comfortable to be able to respond to your inquiry and needs there. So I suppose we're quite happy for it to be quite bespoke to your needs, and I'd be happy to advise you accordingly. Alison and Sabrina, anything else you might like to chip in? I suppose it might be quite useful to just get a sense of where COVID is at in Italy, perhaps.
Yes, I have just started kind of re-socializing, taking the underground, the metro, as it's called here, in the mornings, and with my mask on. And, you know, things are definitely back to normal here in Italy. Very few people are wearing masks. Public transport is very busy. I think there's a general feeling that COVID is kind of over in Italy. But I think you replied very well, Sho, on the interest that we would have in protecting any artists that get involved in that project.
Great. Sabrina, would you like to chip in, or should we move on to the next question?
Thank you very much. So, actually, officially, the emergency, COVID emergency in Italy is over. And so people tend actually to underestimate the problem. And people simply do not wear face masks, not any longer. But as Sho said, when you apply, please specify if you have specific needs in this respect, because I would like to reiterate the fact that this project aims not only at making access possible, but also to make it possible within the context of safety, total safety. Of course, we would like to have in-presence activities, but we will consider all needs. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So next question directed to me from Nicole Vivian Watson. Where can we find your email address to request assistance with the introductions? Thank you. Yes, so when you go to our website, Stopgap Dance Company's website, and Open Dialogo Artist Residency section, there are buttons that you can click to contact Stopgap Dance Company, and that will come directly to me via our administrator. So that will be the point to to get in touch with. So yeah, you can do that in English. If you'd like to do that in Italian to challenge me, that's also fine. Yes, so whatever language works for you. And then your second question is it possible to host individual artists from Italy and for UK organizations to travel to host in Italy within the budget? So is that artists from Italy coming to us and then UK organizations to travel to Italy within the budget? Yeah, I don't see why not, I suppose. Sabrina and Alison, what do you think the steering board would consider with this?
Valuterebbe. There is the possibility for individual artists from Italy, sorry, to apply to travel to the UK, and I think that the same goes for UK artists. As for the Italian side, there are two ways to participate in the project, either through the residency, because it is the residency that indicates artists, or there can be individual applications coming from the individual artist, making reference to one residency in the UK. And you can ask Sho for information about UK organizations participating as residencies.
And Alison here, I wonder if that's a question whether one organization can apply for both opportunities, as it were, to go and to travel. And we wouldn't say no. I think we'd need to see the range of applications and what the opportunities are. And we mentioned about face-to-face, because yes, we want to prioritize the opportunities for disabled artists, but we realize that it's the entire ecosystem has to change. So a venue, for example, in order to be able to host disabled artists, has to understand the needs. And I think what Sabrina would agree with me if we say that we know that the UK is quite far advanced in this area, whereas Italy is a little bit behind. So we were interested in creating this project as well for this exchange of expertise, but not only just for knowing what disabled artists are doing in both countries, but also to enable that exchange of expertise so that Italian venues are better able to host disabled artists from the UK or from wherever.
Great, thanks, Alison. Looks like you did a better job there than me. But you are the decision makers, so that's great to have you both with those contributions. The next question's in Italian. Mo, I don't know if you had the chance to translate that, or maybe
it's in the chat.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you.
So
Okay.
the question is, can also associations of the volunteering sector participate, those working within the context of disability? So organizations of volunteers, that is the question. Can they also participate?
Sho, I'm happy to take that.
Great, thank you.
So actually, this goes back to kind of the origins of this project and why we're investing, because the attitude, I suppose, towards disabled people who are involved in the arts is, we noticed that very often there was a consideration that disabled artists are not as innovative or creative as other artists, and we wanted to, through Europe Beyond Access in particular, that project was showing the great creativity and the high level of competence and innovation and new aesthetics that disabled artists can bring onto the scene. So what we are looking for, professional dancers, professional dance artists, or professional dance professionals. So I'm wondering, when they say that it's a voluntary association, I'm wondering if they're working with, if they're working with professional dance artists, then yes, that would be possible. I hope that answers that question.
Sabrina, would you like to contribute, or?
Qualcosa? I agree entirely with Alison. Volunteering associations are welcome, of course, but they should work with dance. The point is that they work with the dance professionals, because this is at the very core of the project. This is what we deal with here.
Great, thank you very much. We don't have any more questions. Oh, here we go. Lack of access to professional spaces makes this difficult. I think that's more of a comment than a question there. But yes, we'll take that into consideration.
Absolutely. In fact, we're working very closely with Aristide, who himself, in the previous webinars, he was telling us how he got involved. He's a professional disabled dance artist, Italian, but he had to study, or he did his training in the Netherlands, I believe. And so this whole project is also looking at the whole ecosystem in Italy. How can you support disabled people who want to be a professional dancer? And this is why we go back to this kind of face-to-face, that a hands-on experience for Italian dance venues would be extremely beneficial.
Great, thank you. There's also another question about when does, from Jackie, when does one stop being professional? I think we are quite open to receiving a variety of applications. And one of the first questions is about, telling us about who you are and the range of work that you have done before. So yeah, I suppose if you have been committed to making dance works or performing in dance works, whatever your background and characteristics, we will take due consideration of your experiences. So yeah, I'd really encourage you to make a good shot at making an application, and yeah. And then the next question is from Sylvia in Italian, and as a producer, I work on a dance project with disabled and non-disabled artists. This summer residencies will begin, and in October we will be in a preview in Milan. Could we start with an online dialogue with a partner and then plan a UK residency in October? Was that translation largely satisfactory for you, Sabrina and Alison?
I'm just checking, I'm going between them both. Yes, I think so. This so they would have is the question that they would already have a project? Just to remember, Sylvia, that we are looking for the residencies that are part of that network.
Sabrina, would you like to contribute there?
Clearly, you can apply, take into account what we said. So the fact that if you are presented, so to say, by a residency, the residency must be part of the Italian agreement. If you apply as an artist, or as a company, you make reference to the UK system of residencies, and your application will be assessed. There is already a project, right, Sylvia, as an answer. Well, if you are already linked, so to say, to a residency, apply with that residency. I'm not sure, Sylvia, if I'm answering the question. Is it clear? Yes, right, Sylvia. Everything is crystal clear. Thank you.
Great, thank you for those answers, Alison and Sabrina. And apologies that we can't have a debate with audiences. It's just because we wanted to record this session and make it available for people to watch after. trying to get everyone's permission to have recording made available in a public space was just a bit too difficult. So this is the reason why I'm afraid it's a Q&A set up in this format. But if anybody has any further questions or would like to discuss anything in more detail, our email address is there, admin@stopgapdance.com. And, we're open to having conversations with you or taking the questions to the steering board to discuss in more detail. So, yeah, please don't hesitate to get in touch. There's one final question there. Alison, sorry, did you want to chip in there?
I just wanted to say this is a pilot project, so we are kind of exploring our way around it. And when I say we, it's the 4 partners, because Stopgap Dance are doing a fantastic job in trying to manage all the different expectations by the project board members. So thank you, Sho, for that. But it is a project pilot, so we are looking for feedback. And I know some people have been providing feedback, and that's great. We want to see that. We want to make a project where we can promote better cultural relations through dance between the UK and Italy. That's our bottom line, as it were.
Thanks, Alison. So the question from Elisa is in Italian. So there's a little Google Translate here. As individual Italian artist, is it possible to participate by identifying only the English residency, or is it necessary to identify both the English and Italian residencies to make the bilateral exchange possible? Was that an okay translation to you, Sabrina? Yeah, you want to chip in?
It is important to identify the UK residency because, as Alison said, this is a pilot project. And in order to broaden opportunities, we have decided to give the opportunity to both our individual artists and residencies to apply. So you can apply as an individual artist and indicate via also the support of Stopgap a UK residency, or you can contact an Italian residency that might indicate you as an artist to be selected for a UK residency, but an individual application is also absolutely okay.
Great, thank you. And then another question from Jens. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. This is very useful. I follow as a promoter a dance with a disability. I currently have no disability, so I am asking if my role as an able-bodied organizer promoter affects the minimum percentage of representation indicated. Thank you. So Alessandro, I think it's fine for you to still present or represent that person that you're promoting, because if the project is being led by that person, even if you're applying and your characteristic does not include disability, it's still a disabled-led project. So I think we'll be considering that as a disabled-led project. I don't know if Alison and Sabrina, if that's also your interpretation.
Yes, it's not 100% clear, but I would agree. If as a promoter he's presenting the application on behalf of a dancer with disability, that's fine.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to give 30 more seconds for any other questions directly to the application process or design of the project.
I'm going to take the advantage, I think if I share with the webinar chat to share a link, because we have a symposium on the end of the, coming up to the end of Europe Beyond Access. I'm just going to add it into the chat because it's happening tomorrow, so people might be interested in seeing that. And also the results of our time to act. I'm going to share that as well. Control-C.
Great. Thank you, Alison. We will circulate those links via Eventbrite also, so that for anyone who might not be able to access these right now, you get a record of that. So Alison, if you could perhaps drop me an email with those links as well.
Sure.
I'll make sure that everyone receives that. Great. Thank you so much, both. I hope we've been able to answer everything. And like I said earlier, if anyone has any questions that emerge after this webinar that you'd like to ask us, please do get in touch. It's admin@stopgapdance.com. And all of the information that I presented to you is available on the Stopgap's Open Dialogo website. So I encourage you to have a look. And again, you know, I'm always open to receive inquiries, ideas, etc. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. So yes, thank you very much. That's all we've got time for this evening. Thank you, Alison and Sabrina, and hope to hear from you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Bye-bye, everybody.